Ladies and gentlemen, I want the Buffalo Bills to activate Maxwell Hairston for Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. Now, this was brought up yesterday on the Bills Roundtable. It is myself, Zbot, Kevin Masari, and then also Jake from Bills Bunker, Mondays and Thursdays. I want all of you to go subscribe to that YouTube channel. It's a great show, and we unpack everything Buffalo Bills. But it really inspired me to make it the topic of this Friday stream because, I mean, what other answers do we have? Why are we protecting this young man so much? Is the coaching staff worried that they're going to get backlash if he's not ready? Maybe they're afraid that he's going to look bad against the Kansas City Chiefs based off of lack of repetition. I say screw it. Go on ahead and activate this young man, and let's get into business. We're going to be reacting to that clip that I just mentioned on the Bills Roundtable, so you guys could hear exactly what Kevin and Zbot had to say about the entire theory and much more on this Friday edition of the Don Mafia Report. If you are just coming in, all I ask is that each and every single one of you hit that thumbs up sign for me. It's the easiest way to show love over here on the channel. And then also shout yourself out in the chat. It is the easiest way to show love over here. I'm always nosy. I want to understand how far Bills Mafia extends. Let me know where you're tapping in from. I'm talking to all of the lurkers in the building as well. But guys, right before we dive into it, I'm pretty sure I have like the perfect parlay for this Sunday for the Buffalo Bills. I have Keon Coleman under 43.5 receiving yards. More than likely, he's going to be lined up with J.C. Horn, right? Like, he has more than 50% of all of the turnovers the Carolina Panthers have been able to generate. So, for the love of God, all right, Joe Brady, that is not a good matchup. I'm hoping that Keon Coleman doesn't have more than 2 targets in general on Sunday. So maybe this bet is more of a manifestation from my end, but Keon Coleman under 43.5 receiving yards, lock it in. I have Khalil Shakir over 4.5 receptions. I think he is going to be a big piece of this offense, including Dalton Kincaid. Something I ultimately ended up learning as I started diving even deeper into the data is that the Carolina Panthers are among the worst defenses in the NFL for covering tight ends. So if you wanted to swap out Khalil Shakir for Dalton Kincaid receptions, that would probably also be safe. You have James Cook over 93.5 all-purpose. I know this Carolina Panthers run defense is incredible. However, I think that this is going to be the week where Joe Brady finally starts to implement him into the pass game. And like it or not, Cook, regardless of what defenses he has played already, he's still averaging about 4 to 5 yards per carry. So love the all-purpose over for James Cook. I have Josh Allen over 223.5 passing yards. Like I said, this Carolina Panthers team does not generate pressure. They are among the worst in the league for generating pressure in general, and then also over expected EPA. 0 blitzes. So I think Josh Allen is going to have all the time in the world in the pocket. This should be a good game for him to leverage the passing attack. And then last but not least, Rico Dowdle. I mean, come on. It's pretty easy to bet against this Buffalo Bills run defense. Like, we're averaging, 5 explosive runs each and every single week. I think Rico over 53.5 is all but a lock. And then last but not least, I have Bills minus 7.5. Yes, I do think that Buffalo wins by multiple scores and gets on the right track. Now, folks, if, for example, you like the way this bet looks, all right, I already put this on Sleeper right now, folks. Sleeper is the player prop platform that I put all of these bets on each and every single week. And I think I put down $20 and I could potentially win 180 with that parlay by itself. Signing up is free, first off, and you get a free $20 just for doing it. And then say that you do put down a deposit, they're matching it up to 100%, all the way up to $100, folks. I'm riding with that parlay. Say, for example, you guys are interested in all of this. I highly recommend you take advantage of it. All right. So I wanted to start off today's episode by reacting to this clip where we were trying to bully the Buffalo Bills coaching staff into saying, screw it, Maxwell Haristen, you are at least going out there for 20 to 30% of the snaps and getting your licks right now. Because Trey White, obviously, that guy needs a break. He's basically just a depth player. That's all he should have been looked at from the most part. But we are going to react to this. But I do want to understand where everybody is tapping in from this morning. We have Lurkerville is in the building. I absolutely love it. In enemy territory, attending Sunday's game. Go Bills. Enjoy Charlotte, man. It is a great place. I lived there for a couple of years, man. A lot of really cool spots, especially in the South towns. Arkansas, go Bills. Webster, New York is in the building. El Paso, Texas. You already know, Dan. I appreciate that. Chattanooga is in the building. Dave still in Denver. Dave wanted to let me know. He's like, man, I'm in Denver. I'm not leaving, Dan Mitchell. Good morning, Dan Mitchell. Good morning, John Mitchell. How you doing, man? We have Oklahoma. Texas is in the building. Miami, Florida. We have Rogersville, Missouri. Stady, New York. We have Oswego, New York. We have Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Harrison, what's going on with you, man? Fort Collins, Colorado is in the building. Charmont, New York. Dan the man. I won't bet against the Buffalo Bills. Look at that, man. I like that. Arkansas. Oh, man, we have a lot of Arkansas in the building right now. I like that. New Jersey, Buffalo, New York, Long Island, New York. Man, Bills Mafia is truly worldwide. And so, again, I love how everyone always tunes in while they're working. Guys, feel free and make sure that you have bell notifications turned on. A lot of people I know sort of leverage this show as something to distract them while they're going about their day-to-day. So whether or not you're running errands or whether or not that, you're working the field, you're a blue-collar worker or you're a white-collar worker, have some downtime, you're answering emails, whatever you're doing professionally, feel free to utilize me as some white noise to make the day go by faster. I always do my best to keep it as informative as humanly possible. But yesterday, like I said, on the Bills Roundtable channel, again, guys, that channel is in the description. All right. It's free to subscribe. You don't want to miss this. It's myself, Zebak, Kevin Masari, and typically Bills Bunker. He's been traveling quite a bit, so we haven't seen him for the past couple of episodes. But big topic that came up was the case of Maxwell Hairston. Max Harrison, as many of us know, just recently got elevated from the IR. He's been hurt ever since July 30th. It's been about 3 months. And now his 21-day practice window has been opened. He must be elevated to the roster within 21 days, or he's put back on the IR, effectively ending his season. A player doesn't need to wait all 21 days once that window is activated. A linebacker for the New England Patriots was activated from the IR. His 21-day practice window started, and hours later, he was activated to the roster to play against the Buffalo Bills. And typically, I would be somewhat or give some sort of empathy to the coaching staff if, for example, Buffalo left the bye 5-1 or maybe 6-0. Maybe I would have ultimately ended up doing that. And maybe I would have given them empathy because he's a rookie. He's missed out on a lot of quality reps at this point. But I honestly think at this point, might as well just go out there and give him 20, 30% of the reps if necessary. Like, get him going. Like, start to scale him up. He's a first rounder. All right. Let's see exactly what we have in this young man. We're not going to be pissed off at him, right? If, for example, he goes out there with his limited snaps and he gets cooked. At this point, how much worse could he be than Trey White as far as his production out in the secondary already? I think that's how I'm looking at it. We have Diana coming in. She's agreeing with me. She's saying, put Maxwell Harrison in already. I would agree. But let's go ahead and take a look at this clip. Again, I ask each and every single one of you to subscribe to the Bills Roundtable so you don't miss an episode. We will be live again on Monday. However, let's take a look.
I don't know if they're not doing that. I'm not saying they're not doing that. But I'm also saying that what they have out there currently, we have a large enough sample size to know that it's just not, it's not what you want. And we haven't seen Hairston yet. You got to see him. I just hope it's sooner rather than later. That's where I'm at. And I know it's probably not going to be this week, but I would if it were up to me, honestly, I would go this week, even if it's in a limited capacity, just because you know what you got coming around the bend. Right now, Patrick Mahomes is the #1 fantasy quarterback in the NFL. The guy's been cooking. I mean, I don't think it's being talked about enough because of how consistent it's been, but he's probably the MVP right now. With Baker not playing all that well this past weekend, you look at the numbers for Mahomes, he's been absolutely on fire. And you have Rice back, you have Worthy healthy. I mean, next week, we know what's around the bend. Is it going to be fine with or without Hairston? And wouldn't you rather just see what you have and the opportunity for it to be better? Because you already know what it is without him, right?
Yeah, man. I would tend to agree with you. right? Throw him out there now, right?
How can I don't know if it can be much worse.
Practice reps in, like, look, like, yeah, I understand. Oh my God, his development, like, I mean, roll the dice, Paul.
But
Like,
the thing that they've already had the benefit of right now is like 3 months. This was supposed to be a 3-week injury, and clearly he hurt more than just what they're saying. Clearly, like, I don't need to be an injury specialist to know that something else was injured, but they have slow played it. It's not like a situation where we're all sitting here talking about week 1. It's not like, oh, he's got to get on the field against the Ravens right now. Like, we're not.
You're halfway through the year.
Yeah. What are we slow playing here? He's been running on the sideline for weeks. Now we're finally seeing practice footage. I don't hate getting him 20 weeks against whether it's his fellow rookie Ted McMillan or even Xavier Legat. Like, I don't mind him getting the reps in this game against an offense he should be able to at least maintain a little bit from his side and his perspective. But, like, I'll let the Bills do one thing here. I'll let them play against, I think, a cool move, and maybe it wouldn't work, but it's one that why not try? Get his first action, who they haven't seen, against the Kansas City Chiefs, and let him go out there and cover Rashee Rice, or even more, Xavier Worthy is the guy they probably drafted him to match up against. So let's go, because that was the guy who was winning actually more than anybody in the playoffs. So ultimately, let's go see him against Worthy. What's the worst that happens? You put in Trey White, okay? Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't like. What do you got to lose here, really? And you invested a first round draft pick in him. It's not like you drafted him in the 5th round and you want to see what you got in the late round guy. This is your first round draft pick.
They started strong week 1, so they don't even care about that. Like ultimately, it's a simple scenario of like Z-Bot. It may be the whole tush push thing. Like, are they making an organizational decision to not have him look bad? Like,
well, if that's the case, and that's complete malpractice. That's complete malpractice.
I feel like that, though, because every time McDermott speaks, it's the expectations. He's a first-round pick. We all have our expectation, whether he plays this week against Carolina, next week against the Chiefs, or against the lowly Dolphins. We're all going to have expectations. And if he plays a bad team, our expectations are probably a little higher.
So do you think that they're fearful of him not being good?
Yes. Not being good. Maybe that's a little extreme, of looking like a rookie and poor early on so that he takes more criticism like he did in the 2024 draft. I really think there's a little bit of that organization. 3 months to rehab, like, get him out there, let him cover some of the Carolina Panthers, unless you really have a plan for him against the Chiefs. I'm cool with that. There's no reason you need to nickel dime and tore out all 21 days of this thing and just grind it up and grind it out every last hour you can of him on this thing. Get out there and give him some snaps. You can make in-game adjustments if you need to. Like, ooh, Jamarcus Ingram is inactive. Like, oh man, like, what are we going to do? But ultimately, get him some snaps against the Carolina Panthers. I'm okay with giving him a week to rehab with real reps. There's no reason you can't play him against Mahomes because he's Mahomes. That's my ultimate argument, is like.
But if we're talking about the mindset in the building, that's what I feel like the mindset in the building would be. We can't trot out a run.
Well, you heard it there, folks. A clip from the Bills Roundtable live on Mondays and Thursdays. But that is the topic. And Z-Bot, Kevin, they made great points. At this point, you need to look at what this personnel has been for the past couple of weeks. And again, I am encouraged with some of these reinforcements coming back. Matt Milano, which is likely on pace to start again on Sunday. I know he's made of glass, but when he is out there, this defense is much better. You have Larry Ogunjobi, who is going to be a veteran added to the interior part of this defensive line, a significant improvement from the variety of practice squad players and rookies that we have had to use more than I believe we wanted to. And then Michael Hoyt as well, who I think is really going to take our pressure packages to the next level. So a lot of the things that I think are the problem with this Buffalo Bills defense, reinforcements are here, and the only glaring hole is Tre'Davious White at CB2, which again, I think that some of the reinforcements in the front seven may sort of mitigate some of the gaffes that he might experience, but I would tend to agree. What is going through this coaching staff's mind where they say, no, we need to allow Maxwell Hairston the full 21 days. And the first game that he's going to play is the Miami Dolphins. Why? Why would we do that? We don't need Maxwell Haristen versus the Miami Dolphins. We need Maxwell Hairston during this Kansas City Chiefs game, which is coming up in 2 weeks. We drafted him for that reason, so that we could go stride for stride with some of the fastest players that the league has to offer at the wide receiver position. So wouldn't it make a little sense in y'all's minds if you throw the young man out there for at least 10% of the snaps against the Carolina Panthers? Who cares if, for example, that he whiffs on some of the coverage schemes, or he has a brain fart during some of the coverage schemes versus Carolina? You can't tell me that some fresh legs, somebody 8 years, right? 8 years removed from how old Tre'Davious White is not going to be at least a little bit of an improvement. In my opinion, if you were to ask me, I think Maxwell Haristen should be activated this Sunday. 20-30% of the snaps, and then versus the Kansas City Chiefs, I think that you sort of give him an uptick rate in overall involvement, and then by the Miami game, he is a full go. But guys, look, I'm looking at this Miami game where he could potentially be making his debut. Who knows, like, what that team is going to look like? Is Jalen Waddle even going to be on the field for the Miami Dolphins? Is he going to be wearing a different team's uniform by that point? Why save him for a game like that? Look, man, like, we're in desperation mode right now. This AFC is a hell of a lot more like wide open than I thought that it would be at this point of the season. So that's my vote. And look, I'm not putting it past this coaching staff to surprise me either, because where it stands right now, folks, this Buffalo Bills team still has one open roster spot. So as many of you know, we added Damar Hamlin, and we also ended up adding, why am I blanking on this one? Sanders to the IR, which ultimately ended up paving 2 roster spots for Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt. Then we ended up cutting Jimmy Chiarlo, who's back on our practice squad, by the way. But we still have an open roster spot. A lot of people are thinking, oh, man, it's probably going to be Jordan Poyer. He's going to be activated to this roster. He's going to be signed. But don't you think that would have been announced already? Say, for example, that Buffalo was planning on just signing him to the active roster to fill that final spot. We still have 2 times that we could elevate Jordan Poyer from the practice squad to play for the Buffalo Bills, not count against our roster. So the fact that there's still an open roster spot is giving me at least some sort of hope that Buffalo is considering it, right? Is like, yeah, you know what? Screw it. We're going to activate Maxwell Haristen right now to this damn roster. Just get him out there for 10 to 20% of the snaps and see what he can do from there. So I'm holding on to hope. I'm not holding my breath, but I'm holding on to hope that Buffalo might actually pull the trigger and give this young man his first taste of actual NFL football this upcoming Sunday. Like, line him up against Leggett. Line him up against Tet McMillan for a couple of games. Welcome to the league. I mean, you're a first-round pick. You're the fastest guy coming out of the combine. Cool. As Kevin said in this overall clip, expectations are already high. Expectations are going to be high regardless of when you decide to start him in the first place. Go out there and see what he brings to this defense. That's my vote. That is my vote. Let's go ahead and get into some Q&A, folks. Please, if, for example, you would like me to get to any of your questions in the live chat, please label them appropriately so I can pick them out. Sometimes a lot of the live chat is, fan and fan having an internal conversation within the chat, and that's completely fine. I just want to make sure that I can easily decipher between everything. My Uncle Jim is in the building. Just trade for Olave already. Send them some of our inept defensive ends and toss in Tre'Davious White. Man, you know what, Uncle Jim? I would love Olave. He's one of my favorite wide receiving targets. I honestly think that we could get away with just sending them over some draft capital. It's tough to say how much value he truly has because he has a significant concussion history. Like, him and Tua are like literally on the same page for concussions. It's hard for me to say that it would be a first-round pick. Maybe it would be a first-round pick if, for example, like the Bucs or the Panthers, somebody within their division wanted to trade for him. But I got a feeling that at most it's probably going to be about a second-round pick if you were to ask me. I think that's where it's at. I think that front seven is going to help the back end a lot. Jordan Poyer will help a lot too. I think anyways, Mad Max, is needed as soon as humanly possible. I mean, again, like years and years of watching ball, like you see front sevens really be able to mitigate below average secondary play. If, for example, that you can gobble up the run, if, for example, you can get to the quarterback, a lot of the times a below average secondary, you can get away with that. And a lot of teams have been able to prove that that method works or that methodology works. So what does Hoyt bring to the table? What does Larry Ogunjobi bring to the table? And I ended up putting out a tweet earlier this week, and a lot of people were upset about it, but whether or no matter how you like to shake it, right? It's absolutely true. This Buffalo Bills team has given up around 965 yards on the ground so far this year. All right. Basically meaning that they're on pace of letting go of 2,700 yards on the ground as far as stopping the run. 36% of all of those rushing yards came from two running backs, Bijan Robinson, and same thing with Derrick Henry. Both of them ended up rushing for close to 170 yards that game. Okay. And when you take away explosive runs and people are just like, oh, yeah, man, my diet goes great until I have a cheesecake at the end of the night. That's not how these advanced metrics work. Like with EPA, like you're being judged on a per drive basis. So when you eliminate the explosive runs that the Buffalo Bills defense has been giving up, you see the Buffalo Bills normal run defense is letting up about 2.6 yards per carry, which is top 10 in the league. And when you end up comparing it to some of the other teams right in the NFL, those teams are still in the top 5 in run defense in general. Like you have the Cleveland Browns, for example, that are number 1 in minus explosive runs. You have the Patriots that are like 3 or 4, I think, in minus explosive runs as well. So when you see explosive runs, guys, that's not a run defense problem. That is a tackling problem. And when you end up looking at like the core of run defense, particularly when you're attacking the A-gaps, right? When Buffalo has been running out practice squad player and true rookies as a defensive tackle, 9 times out of 10, that's a reason why the Buffalo Bills linebackers and DBs are struggling so bad in tackling, right? Because you're seeing some practice squad players or like you're seeing some rookies get completely embarrassed in the trenches where you're seeing the running back not maintain any sort of like first contact at all. Once you end up putting Larry Ogunjobi out into the picture, I can guarantee you that's at the very least going to slow the running back at least after first contact. And that should, on paper, improve some of the tackling that we're seeing from our linebackers and our DBs. That's historically what it should mean. So the Bills don't have a run defense problem. The Buffalo Bills have a tackling problem. And hopefully these reinforcements end up fixing it. That's all I got to say. Let's see. We have Mallorca is coming in. Watch the move up. Okay, we have interesting. I have no idea what that meant. Why these guys get paid like Rousseau and Benford have been crap, Dan. So Rousseau is definitely not destroying stat sheets as far as sacks. He's still getting pressure. He's still one of our better run defenders out on the edge, surprisingly enough. As far as Rousseau's contract, it was kind of like more so we extended him so that we could save money to bring in more players. Or like we extended him so that we could afford to extend Christian Benford. We could afford to extend Bernard, who both have not been having the best of seasons. As far as Benford, he's good. Like he's good against the run. His coverage is taking a slot. My issue is that, so I genuinely believe that what the problem with the secondary is that there is just a lack of chemistry, and you can tell based off of their communication. So what a day for Christian Benford to go out there and prove everybody wrong. And plus, like Rapp has been playing horrible football. And I'm going to tell you right now, Taylor Rapp is going to be added to the IR. If I am a gambling man, like you can't tell me that all of a sudden he's listed on the injury report with a knee injury that he quote unquote sustained in training camp and he's been playing through it. Like, no, dude. Like, that's a polite benching, like right there. So he's more than likely going to be added to the IR. I wouldn't be surprised if his season is over with here within the next couple of weeks. And Poyer is your safety. And like it or not, Poyer is an upgrade from how Taylor Rapp has been playing this year. At least he can tackle. At least he's still semi-decent in coverage. So I think that's going to improve a lot of the things within our secondary. I really, really do. But of course, it needs to be proven on Sunday. That's where I see this. Must-win game on Sunday. I agree. I really, really agree. Mike Green's coming in saying, smash that like button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Share the channel with your Mafia friends and get them to join the channel. Mike Green, shout out Mike, man. I had the pleasure of meeting and hanging out with Mike at the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins event here on week 3. Great dude, and a great mod over here. I appreciate everything Mike does. I really do. Is Chauncey Phillips betting on the Bills this weekend? Dude, I don't know. I don't know. Must win Sunday because we're losing to Kansas City as New England takes the East. Must win Sunday because we're losing to Kansas City as New England takes the East. We have Ketchup Samurais in the building. I think this is certainly a Patriots fan. We are not losing to Kansas City, nor New England takes over the East because the Patriots are losing to the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. You heard it here first. I do. Christian, what's going on, man? How you doing? I am already looking at safety prospects in the next year draft. I mean, hey, man, look at some of the Georgia. So just do me a favor and look at some of the Georgia safeties. I was one of the few that saw safety as a need in the draft last year. Look at us now. Yeah. Like, yeah or no? So whether or not that you would like to admit it, so the Buffalo Bills defensive line is a hell of a lot better than it was last year. That, in my opinion, was the big need. Nobody was anticipating the fall off of the secondary as we had last year. As far as the turnovers, they are just not there. And that's what I think made this secondary look a lot better. But last year, our pass rush was piss poor. And now we're top 3 in the league for pressure percentage. We're causing issues for quarterbacks, except for a lot of these quarterbacks are just making timely throws here and there. Safety's intriguing. I would have liked Emanwari, and so as many of you guys know, but I don't know. I mean, hopefully Jordan Poyer can make something. Hey, Dan, I love you, man. And so I appreciate everything you do, but I do have a question. Well, thank you, Jackson. I appreciate that. Do the Bills still trade for a wide receiver, even if the offense does amazing against the Panthers? Yeah, for sure. Especially considering we have no idea what's going on with Joshua Palmer. He's listed as week to week. I also think that he's a dangerous candidate to be added to the IR as well. Now, I can tell you that I think Dalton Kincaid by the end of the season is going to be our quasi wide receiver number 1. He's playing really good, guys. He's playing very good. His separation is the best on the team by a country mile. He's dominating midfield. So him being back is going to be huge. And us utilizing our running backs in the pass game is going to be huge. And guys, look, how the Buffalo Bills are structured at being able to run the football as far as like consistent success, the way that our schedule was panned out, like we ended up playing the second and third ranked run defense in the NFL for the past 2 out of 3 weeks. Like that's not going to be the equation each and every single year. We're going to start seeing Cook go off for all-purpose 100 again and again and again and again. So I'm still confident that we can get back to that and dominate right in that facet. But as far as wide receiver, yes, I still think that Buffalo is interested. And I sincerely hope that that's the case. Look at Caleb Downs from Ohio State. He's big as well. And then there's a young man out of Georgia who's also very good. Rapp is no good for us anymore, in my opinion. Well, have no fear. I think that he is going to be added to the IR. He's definitely not playing on Sunday. I think we're going to be seeing Jordan Poyer. I don't think we're going to be seeing much more of Rapp all season, to be honest with you. Dan, who would we have to offer up to get Waddle? Oh, man. We would probably need to send over a first round pick. Yeah. Say that you were to ask me, I really don't care about first round picks because, like, as many of you know, I think that if you're past the 15th pick in the first round, it's a glorified second round pick. And the only first round pick that Buffalo has ever like really hit dividends on was Josh Allen. And we had to trade up all the way to the 7th in order to achieve that. So I'd be fine with walking away from a first round pick next year. And so, I mean, especially with a wide receiver that's as young as Waddle, that's as fast as Waddle. He's only ever missed 4 games in his career already. For sure, I would do it. But would Miami want to trade one of their stars over to a divisional rival? I feel like that's an entire different conversation. What's up, Dan? Can we expect to see you on JM's podcast sometime or get him on your show? Would love to see you collaborate sometime. And so I've DM'd him a couple of times. He just never answers. So I'm assuming he doesn't want to. But yeah, dude. I mean, I am open always. Statement: I am personally okay with a first round pick being given up. I feel like we all should. Can we just have 3 tight end sets, some 13 personnel is what we're looking at, and run it play action mode? KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Not hard to do. We got the horses. Use them. Well, I'll tell you what, man. There are a lot of favorable matchups with this Carolina Panthers team coming up. Bills need to make the Waddle trade. Wouldn't that be ideal? We have $28 million is too much for Waddle. Well, so here's the thing about contracts. When you see a total figure of contracts, right? Like most people think, oh my God, like we're not going to be able to afford that young man. Say, for example, we were to trade for Jalen Waddle. In fact, I can go ahead and actually pull it up. Let me go ahead and pull up exactly how much it would cost you because it's really not as bad as you would think. Let me pull it up and make sure I have it correctly. Maybe I did tweet this. Maybe I didn't. It's Garrett Wilson. Show me some Jalen Waddle action. Damn, bro. So I tweet way too much, bro. I tweet way too much. Okay. Maybe. Okay. So basically what I'm saying with Jalen Waddle, like he would cost us $600,000 this year, and next year he'd probably cost us about $1.2 million. His contract doesn't get bad until like, I think 2027. And that's a $23 million salary. At that point, we'd probably see an average increase of close to about $55 million in overall NFL cap. And Buffalo's going to be seeing a lot of, so the botch Stephon Diggs contract off of the books, the botch Von Miller contract off of the books. So I'm not particularly concerned about how much Waddle would cost us. So as far as these next couple of years, it's not going to be a lot against our cap. So as far as finances, it's not all that bad. And same thing with Garrett Wilson as well. I don't think that the Jets are going to trade him. I don't think that they would give him to the Bills if they decide to do it. But say for some odd reason we were able to trade for a Garrett Wilson, same exact story. It would cost us about $600,000 this year. I think it would cost us like $3 million next, because all of those signing bonuses he gets is money that's automatically or already paid to Garrett Wilson, right? Like he already has that money. And how you look at contracts online, like you'll see, okay, signing bonus proration. They basically end up using that as an accounting measure, but that money is still toward him. So like what's left to be paid to Garrett Wilson and Jalen Waddle is not all that bad. Let me see. My notifications have been going crazy from a lot of broadcasters, dude. Well, you know what, man? I'm glad you're here. What would you put Maxwell Harrison's floor and ceiling for his career and how he is going to help his team? Hoping we utilize Cook these weeks. I feel like Brady wasn't using him correctly the past 3 games or so. Did Cooper help kind of getting a guy? Doesn't always mean he's the guy. Who we need has to be a fit, not just a name that feels good. I like that. I am looking for SABB from Alabama and Taft from Texas for Buffalo at safety for targets. Downs will be a top 10 pick. That's how we have to look at it, right? It's going to be tough, and I don't think that Buffalo is going to trade up. When Jerry Jones thought Derrick Henry wasn't worth what he wanted, I bet he kicks himself each and every single day. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Question, when, if at all, do you think the Bills could make a trade? I feel like it should be before Kansas City, bare minimum. Well, so the deadline is November 4th. So we're about like 2 weeks away. So I could see it happening. Who knows? Let me see. We have Garrett is in the building. Hey, Dan, how's it going? Oh, man, just living the dream, man. Just living the dream. Dan, what is the word on Gabe Davis? I haven't heard any update on whether or not that he's fully recovered from his injury. He's still on the practice squad. He could be elevated at some point. Who knows? And do you think Bean has learned his lesson on people over 30? Probably. Talking about the draft in week 8 is crazy unless you are the Jets. Absolutely. Dan, is Jerry Jeudy too expensive? No. He would be super cheap. Yeah, he would be super cheap. Would Cleveland want to walk away from him, though? That's the question. Please explain why we never use the tush push or screen passes or any passes to our running backs. Make it make sense. Shaking my head. So the Buffalo Bills voted to ban the tush push. So I'm not sure if Sean McDermott is afraid to look like a hypocrite. Right? I have no idea. I hope that it's implemented again. If I see one more end around, I am going to lose my marbles. Let's see. Craig, Diana, we Texans. Oh, man. Shout out to that. All right, boys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Don Mafia Report, live Monday through Friday at 10:15 a.m. EST. Saturday, I might be live, and tomorrow at some point. Maybe I'll do like a call-in episode or something along those lines. And then obviously Sunday, I will be giving you my live play-by-play reaction. I do want to remind everybody, I am giving away the signed Thurman Thomas helmet. I'm going to be announcing the winner Sunday at halftime during my live play-by-play on YouTube. So I highly recommend that not only do you subscribe, but you have those bell notifications turned on, because I am going to be announcing the winner based off of people that are in the live chat at the time. So in order to be eligible, you must be a subscriber to this YouTube channel, and you have to be there at halftime during my live play-by-play. I will be selecting a winner at random in the live chat. So make it happen. All right, guys. And so I love each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tapping in. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my Friday, and go Bills. See you soon.